Hello, hello.
How's it going? Anyone see us yet?
We're there.
Awesome. Hi, ladies. Happy
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 Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay. Friday Eve.
Yes, right.
Thursday. Yeah, we are back for another Thursday, and we just find that to be such a blessing that we've made it almost to the end of this year, and we have a nice large group tonight. So we're going to
Yes,
jump
we
right
do.
in. I am Cara Dunstan, and I am so excited to be here. There's so many beautiful women on here tonight, and this is the place to be. So I'm going to move on and let everyone else introduce themselves. So, Marcy, you want to start us off?
Hey, I'm Marcia Penn. Good to see everyone this evening.
Hey, Marcia.
Hey. Who's going next?
Rita?
Oh, hi, I'm Benita Bellamy. And once again, I am so grateful to be here with these good girlfriends, all these beautiful melanin women. I'm grateful to be able to share encouragement, because it's tough trying to be a sister and a friend. So I'm grateful for this community. I really am.
Me too.
And I can't wait to come back to Baltimore and hug on some necks.
I know.
Come on, twin.
My cousin Tanya, you next.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Tanya, Yvette, so glad to be here and join with you beautiful ladies. Good to see some faces. Bonita, I haven't seen in a while, and we got some new faces on here. And so looking forward to this conversation. Change.
Amen.
And I'm going to actually introduce one of my really good friends that is one from church. We met at Celebration Church, and her name is Shannon. Shannon, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Tate, and I do know some faces, so I'm excited to be here. I catch some of the replays sometimes, but I reached out to Cara and Regina and found out about this tonight, so I'm glad that I was able to get on. So nice meeting everyone.
Yay, welcome.
Regina?
Hi, everyone. I'm Regina Clay, and I'm here.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
And Lisa?
Hi, good evening. I'm Lisa Marner, and I'm so glad to be back. I sat in the audience for a couple of weeks, but I'm back. And I do want to introduce one of my good girlfriends, Daryl. Depending on what day you catch her, she might be Pepper some days. I met Daryl at work. She's one of my co-workers. And she has been a rock when it comes to just honestly staying sane, making the best out of this pandemic, and just trying to find the good in just a crazy situation.
Amen.
So I'm just glad that she's been around.
Amen.
That's awesome.
Good. Well, I guess I go next. I appreciate that. Hello, beautiful women. My name is Daryl Wharton, and I am excited to be a part of this beautiful, this lovely thing. So looking forward.
All right, Juanita.
Juanita, and when we started talking about the topic for tonight, the very first person that came to mind was Ariel, who I will introduce in a moment. But I'm glad to be here too, and love all my sister friends and my new sister friends. And so Ariel and I met over 10 years ago. I probably can gauge it by how old Colin is. One and only. Which I know what he would look like now, but I haven't seen him in so long. He's probably so mature now. But anyway, Ariel and I met through a For Women's Only group, and it was a nonprofit that was the name of it, For Women's Only, and it was like a great sisterhood kind of thing, and it gave me a new outlook on Black women being friends and Black women supporting other people and etc. So she is the author of a pair of shoes called Fear, our topic tonight. She's a minister. She also owns a dessert company. And I'll let her tell you the rest. But Ariel Cartwright, welcome.
So,
for having me. I'm so excited. I'm thankful that Cornita had me on her mind when you ladies brought up the topic called fear. And I'm excited to share my stories. I'm open to any questions that you may have. And I'm just excited to learn from each of you as well.
Man.
Awesome. And last but definitely not least,
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeanette. I have to just say, I think that this show, for anybody that's visiting with us, is going to be transformational. The energy tonight is like no other that we've had on the show. I can just tell you that from the onset. I'm so happy to see our normal crew and then some new additions. I think that's wonderful. I will just say, as I say every week, we are not experts. We are just good girlfriends, loving on each other the way good girlfriends do, sharing information and just kicking it. So I'm looking forward to tonight's topic. I know that it's going to be great.
awesome. And as Juanita mentioned, our topic tonight is fear. So let's jump right on in. Anyone can start. Jump on in.
Woo.
Have any
Well,
fear?
Well, let me just what I just came from. I just came from a discussion around the vaccine.
Mm.
And there's a lot of fear in our community right now about the vaccine. So, and it was interesting because we had experts on there. One of my great girlfriends who I went to college with, she's a doctor. She works in the pharmaceutical field. She works with pharmaceutical companies, just different experts on, all African-American, all talking about things that they've discovered. There was actually another Dr. on who was part of the trial and actually took the vaccine and share with us her experience. But the ultimate and overall questions and answers and everything were all surrounded around fear. And I was like, wow. And then here I come over to the good girlfriends to talk about, fear. So, that's just where I wanted to start, just something I wanted to say, not to say that there has to be any answer or anything, or anybody can jump in with their thoughts.
But Regina, interesting you say that. The same thing. I just came from a work Zoom. We have wellness chats monthly, and today was on COVID, and obviously it went to the vaccine, and it was all around. And we work in one of the local communities in Philadelphia. That it's a 10 neighborhood community. And so the number one thing was about the fear, why our folks are not planning on taking it, how they're just going to wait. They're going to lay in the cut. They're going to wait and see, and all the conversations about the clinical trial. So absolutely, it was the same thing that I just came from about an hour ago. And it was around fear, mistrust that's, been in our communities
Right.
embedded for a very, very long time.
Which is real. That mistrust is
Right.
somewhat real, is real. I'm not saying that that's not real, but I'm going to tell you, like, I go through this whole thing in my head about we're going to wait and see. Trust me, Regina Clay is not on the list till probably April, May, or June. So I will be waiting from now until June to see what happens. My dad, on the other hand, who's 87, will be taking it in the next 2 weeks. And my mother, probably about 2 weeks after that.
But if I can shift a little in talking about fear, always, because many of us have children, and even in our topic last week, we talked about some of the topics that we don't talk about with our young people, that we don't talk about in our families, not just young people, but as we raising children and having them talk about fear. Ariel, maybe you can speak to, or anyone, in terms of just even conversations around whatever the fear is that you're living with. I just finished up a series of financial workshops, and we talked about the fear of not knowing your financial situation. And what do you just kind of put it aside, like, the stuff is out there, like, you in debt, your credit's not right. So because that's what we talked about last time, but it's the sort of the fear of the unknown, and I'm just going to let it go, or I'm not going to deal with it. So my concern is also how we talk, collectively within our families and our children, and then we can open that up to a larger community conversation.
It's interesting that you brought that up. I have a college-age daughter. She's a freshman at North Carolina A&T, and I also have a 15-year-old daughter. And to kind of diminish the fear around money, especially because I think in our community, I know I was raised where your parents didn't tell you a whole lot about what their bills were, what their debt was. All we learned was save, don't spend. That was pretty much it. And I decided to have different conversations for my children and with my children, that they needed to understand what this household looks like bill-wise, what's coming in, what's going out, so that shift their expectations. And I think also for us that live in Howard County, and for those of you that live in other beautiful places around the country as well, that sometimes they get a little bit confused. They think we're the Huxtables or something, and that money just flows all the time. So to put some realistic goals and understanding around money, I think helps them reduce the fear that they have about money, and they can ask questions freely and get a better answer from some real situations that have gone on in our family. So I think that that's a great conversation to have.
Yeah, and if anyone who has not seen our good girlfriends chat from last week, that is what we were talking about, sharing these type of conversations with your children and the benefits of that. So if you haven't seen that one, check it out, because we want to get that message out to everyone. I've often said that my parents did have those discussions with me, and I felt like it was very valuable in me being able to manage the little money that I had to this point. So, and I'm still learning plenty, which I love about these good girlfriend chats, because I learn something every week. But I do know that at least having those conversations from childhood helped me, make better decisions as an adult to this point, at least. So good point, Shannon and Marcy. And yeah.
I think in my household, we just decided that we were going to read together as a family, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, just to get a better understanding of how money works and how you make money work for you. My husband and I have always, talked to our girls. We have 3 girls, 13, 14. I'm sorry, one just turned 15, 13, 15, and 16. And we always talk to them about the money that's coming in and the money that's coming out. This is how you contribute to the household, and for them to develop a healthy relationship with money, and for money to not be I want to say taboo, because it always seems like, oh, money doesn't grow on trees. We don't have that. And I try to let them know you can have as much money as you want to. And if you're open to it and you manifest it, and you have that good relationship with money, it'll always be there for you. And I think that we need to start having these conversations with our girls, because I also grew up in a house where my parents did not talk to me about money. And so I got into that at a very early age in college. Every classroom you went into, there was a flyer for applying for a credit card. And I wish I had the knowledge back then. And so my husband and I decided that we would have that conversation with all 3 of our girls and let them know you should love and have a relationship with things that you want to attract in your life. And that includes the money, because then money will help you to donate to people, to take care of yourself, to be able to support other people. So it's not a bad thing, but you have to believe that you have abundance in it.
Yeah, and also you just brought up a point that I also think, for at least for me as a Christian, learning that tithing was an important part of money as well.
Yes.
And this whole conversation of fear, when we even decided on this topic, I thought about the fact that I've always known, and of course I still have fear at times, but I've always known that you can either have faith or fear, but you can't have both.
Have both.
Right. And so,
Yep.
And having the faith to tithe has always been part of, not always, but most of my life has been, something that I've truly believed in. And glad that I learned that at a young age as well, along with learning about the value of having good credit, working with money, learning about the power of money, and giving back, and not just giving back as a tither, but also giving back. So those things I think go along with it when you're talking to your children as well about, like you said, Daryl, when you're talking to them about giving to others and sharing. And also, I think tithing is an important discussion if you are a believer in that as well.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
will,
absolutely.
I'm sorry, Shane. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, even the extension of tithing, I know if we're talking about fear, a lot of people that I know that went to college, had great jobs, with COVID hitting, lost their jobs. And so fear of losing things that they've had, I extended what I would give back, not only church-wise, but just helping out friends every now and then, hitting people's cash apps just unexpectedly, just because they were so afraid of what was going to happen with their families because they lost their jobs or had hours cut back due to COVID. So just being broader in your thoughts around what giving back looks like in this environment right now.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I guess,
Agreed.
Ariel, for me, I guess my question for you would be, because I'm not familiar with what your book is about, but how do we break down those barriers around fear of stepping out of a situation? We get comfortable. We tend to get
Oh, yes,
comfortable.
we do. It feels good right here. It feels
Mhm.
very good right here. So what I will say is the book itself was birthed out of the Holy Spirit stating to me that the very thing that you are afraid to share is what somebody else is in need of. And so I was afraid to talk about being in an abusive relationship at 20, before I was 21 years old. I was afraid to talk about filing bankruptcy before the age of 25. I was afraid to talk about flunking out of school as a sophomore. And I was telling God, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. This is not what I want to do. And he said, okay, keep telling me what you're not going to do, and you are going to do it. And he's so funny that he has a sense of humor. But again, the very thing that we are struggling with, the very thing that we don't want to share is what somebody else is in need of. The Bible tells us that they overcame by their testimony. And so we cannot, we can't help somebody else. We can't expect somebody else to come out of their mess if we don't share how we were able to get through that same circumstance as well. A lot of people, I remember in high school, I had one teacher who always said, well, I got mine, you got to get yours. Well, can you help me, or can you teach me how to get mine? And going back to the discussion on finances, I was another one neither one of my parents talked to me about money. I saw both of my parents work 2 and 3 jobs, but we never talked about money, never talked about finances. And if I could say one thing that I did learn was how to kite a check. And I'm being very honest about that. And it wasn't until I filed bankruptcy for the second time that I became serious about my finances. In 2017, I lost 2 jobs within 7 months of each other. And I wasn't scared at all because I knew God was going to provide. But then I was unemployed for about 5.5 months. And I was at the end of, what was left in unemployment. And so time was running out. And that's at the point where I said, well, God, I need you to do something. And when I went through those 5.5 months, I said, once I come out of this, I'm not going to end up here again. My bills, of course, they were paid the entire time, but I didn't have a large nest egg to fall back on. Unemployment was just barely, you know, helping me keep a roof over my head. But I said, I will not end up in this place again. But I will say this, Carver, thank you for bringing up the subject of tithing. I was not able to save a dime until I started tithing. So whereas some people look at it like, okay, well, you know, I'm used to spending X amount of money, or, you know, paying this and that. I diligently made sure that, you know, I took the first thing that automatically came out of my paycheck was money going into my savings account. And then the next thing that automatically came out was my tithes. And so, I mean, it's only God's grace that I've been able to do both. And I haven't had any lack anywhere at all.
So I think that fear can keep people from living their very best life, right? And stepping into the blessing that God has for them. And so, like, for me, this is a very important topic, because as Marcy mentioned earlier, we're raising children, many of us, if not all of us, that need to learn how to overcome their fears. And like today I was watching Viola Davis, she was being interviewed, and the person who interviewed her said, you know, do you ever get tired of fighting for roles? And she said, once you can overcome fighting yourself, right, then you're good. And I immediately thought about our topic tonight, because we all, I'm sure, at some point, and maybe still do, fight against ourselves. And we're fighting that fear. We're not fighting anything else but fear.
You
better say
I
it.
can do this. Oh, I don't think I can do that. I'm not good enough for this. What happens when, you know, there are so many times that I might call Cara and I'm twisted about something that happened at work. And she's like, you know, you blessed. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, you're right. Why am I flipping out, taking on this fear that I don't know, that I don't need to have, right? So I think this is a really big thing for us to unpack. I'm raising a young lady who is an who is an actress.
Yep.
And so I'm always trying to be her backbone, but I need for her to understand too, to learn how to stand on her own feet. Right. And so, you know, how to fight against herself.
Yeah.
And that fear that I know we all battle within ourselves. So
We have to get out of our own way. And I say to people all the time, get out of your way. You are your limit. You are your limit. And so it spills over into other things. You know, we started talking about money and the fear of money, but it just transcends into these other topics, and that fear of not being able to live up to that inner voice that you know you should be listening to, that inner voice, and we ignore her all the time.
And let me,
it's that fear.
And let me piggyback to the other side, because remember, we always talk about that balance, y'all, right? So you on the one side of the fear of not being enough. What about the other side of being too much? Good God Almighty, that scripture, to whom much is given, to whom much is required. I'm like, God, man, if I really knew who you told me that I was supposed to be, that's scary. That's a scary thing, man. Why you think that happened to Moses when he was up on that mountain? He was like, I can't even show you your own vision. So that part scares me too. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be too far to the left sometimes where I don't think I'm enough, but then to the right, I'll be like, God, for real? That's too big for me to imagine. I don't even want to go to that chapter. Can this cup pass? Can that cup pass? So I get both sides. So I got to bring myself back into the nevertheless, constantly saying, nevertheless, God, not my will, but thy will be done. Because the other thing is, we are human beings. We gotta be in control, y'all. It gotta be some little thing that we gotta be like, okay, I gotta have that control of this. I gotta have, and God said, you gotta let go of all that control. So that's another fear. When he say, let it all go, give it all up. What if he tell you to give your whole bank account up? Will you do it?
Right.
Come on, y'all. That's a fear.
Right.
That's a
That's
fear.
right.
He might
That's
tell you
right.
to give $5, and that might be all you got.
That's
That might
right.
be all you got. And will you do it? Will you say, yes, Lord, I give you all of me? That's scary. It's scary, y'all.
It is.
That's me. That's where I'm
That's
at.
very true. My dad always says, he tells my mom and all, he said, well, you ladies are ladies of faith, but you give it to God and you try to take it back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's it,
Jeanette
Marcy.
knows Pop-Up.
Oh,
So
that's
it's like,
funny.
so you give it up, but then you taking it back. He's like, you got to give it
Yeah.
up and leave it. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
that's a hard
So,
thing.
absolutely.
That's a
Absolutely.
hard.
It's
I
absolutely.
was talking to my daughter the other day and I said, Nile, what if Jesus Christ didn't accept his assignment? I said, I said, before he was Jesus Christ, the first miracle that he performed, his mother had to force him to do that thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm not doing that. I can't leave me alone, mother, basically, right? This is not I'm not who you think I am. I said, what if he did not accept his assignment? Accept your assignment. God has an assignment for each one of us, and we are scared, as Renita said, to realize and actualize who he's calling us to be. It's and I mean, I'm speaking the word over myself. I'm
right.
Not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not just talking about my child. I'm talking about me too, and the women on this right here in front of me.
Absolutely.
But it's something. I was like, except it's hard for us to. We are scared to walk into who we are supposed to be.
Yeah.
I will, Jeanette. I'm glad you talked about calling. I was actually going to save this till the end, but it's fitting for right now. Somebody sent this to me today, and I'm sharing with each of you. It says, your calling is going to crush you. If you are called to mend the brokenhearted, you're going to wrestle with brokenheartedness. If you are called to prophesy, you're going to struggle to control your mouth. If you are called to lay hands, you're going to struggle with spiritual viruses. If you are called to preach and teach the gospel, you will be sifted for the wisdom that anoints your message. If you are called to empower, your self-esteem will be attacked. Your success will be hard fought. Your calling will come with cups that we can't pass, thorns and sifting that are necessary for your mantle to be authentic, humble, and powerful. Your crushing won't be easy because your assignment is not
It's
easy.
greater. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Share that scripture. Once again, if you want to share in my glory, you got to share in my sufferings. That's real talk. And we don't want to share in the sufferings. We don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. And to piggyback what you said, Jeanette, the other fear is, like you said, is when your children, when you got to kick them out the nest, when you got to be like, it's time. You got to let them go. That's a whole nother level. Oh my God, to just be like, you know what? Hey, God, that's your child first. I got to let them go. I got to be okay with everything that I knew was best for me, that I was able to teach them and to let them explore. And then, like you said, Ariel, they're going to have their crosses to bear, and you can't rescue them from it. Good God Almighty. That's another one. God said, don't you do it. Don't you stop their growth. I got them. You got to put them in my hands, because I know their plans before they was in your womb. And you're like, woo, if they fall, God, I can't. He was like, nope, you got to let them go through their path, because I'm going to be there. Whatever sufferings that they have to fall, I'm going to be right there to pick them up. You can support them, you can guide them, you can continue to give them wisdom, but you can't get in my way. That's another control. You got to let go. It's real. It's real.
Ariel, I'm sure you probably, because you wrote the book, I know you have heard this acronym probably
False
100
evidence.
times to most people on this call, and that is fear, false
False
evidence appearing real.
real. Yep.
And when I did a series at my church, we had a whole campaign around fear and faith. But when you talk about false evidence appearing real, so you're looking at something that's not, you're projecting on something that's not real. It's not right in front of you. It's not right there right now. And we do a lot of that. You know, I think that one of the things, not I think, I know, because I have, you know, done the work. My biggest challenge in my life is fear of success.
Yeah.
So I don't complete anything. I don't start things and I don't complete things
Yeah.
because I'm afraid that it's going to be successful.
Yep.
And then what do I do?
Yep.
That's me.
Then where do I go?
Yep.
Then I have to write the book, which I did last year, finally. Then I have to tell the story and I have to tell the transparent story.
Yes.
Ariel, I
Yeah.
have to tell the transparent story that my mother doesn't want me to tell.
Oh, girl, you ain't telling
I
that
have to
story.
tell that story because guess what? In order to get my healing, I have to tell the story.
Yeah.
This
Come on,
ain't about
sis.
you, Mom. And I had to tell her that. I
Oh
said,
my
Mom,
God,
this isn't
Regina.
about you. This is about me. This is about my healing. And this is what I need to do in order to go to the next level.
Yeah.
Regina, are we related?
We related,
Because that
Ariel.
sounds like my
can't wait to
mother.
connect
Oh my
after
God.
this. We related.
I'll let you share.
So
with-
because I did not want to go through that with my mother, my Q can you know, she can
Esther.
vouch for this. My book was like an overnight release, like how Beyonce does her, you know, drop in the middle of the night. That's how I dropped my book. I didn't, you know, when God tells you something, sometimes you have to keep it to yourself until it's time to release it. And so that's exactly what I did. And so when my mother saw my book posted on Facebook and Instagram, she's like, what did you put in that book about me? I said, this don't have nothing to do with you. This is what God told me to do. And if you want to read the book, then fine. If not, fine. I don't care. But I had to be obedient doing what he told me to do. And what I will say is, out of all of the mess that I put in the book, God has absolutely covered me. I have not, nobody came to me and said, well, why did you talk about this situation and that and whatever? I mean, because this is, you know, there's some stuff in here. But none of it has come back to me. And that's how I know I did absolutely everything God told me to do. I never had to have any conversations about it. But false evidence appearing real, that is the spirit of the enemy.
It is.
I pray that each of you has heard the voice of God before. And if you've heard it before, it's a soft, gentle voice. It's not overbearing, it's not loud, but God is just so gentle. And if you hear the word of God, just listening to him, and the enemy is on this side saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're going to fail, you don't even look like that, whatever vision you saw, that's not you, that's somebody else, you can't do this and you can't do that and blah 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 blah. But God is saying, I got you. I'm going to take care of you. I've already laid it out for you. Everything is prepared. I'm just waiting for you to go. And the enemy is, you know, rah, 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 like you can't do this. But God is saying, I've already prepared the way. And so because the voice of the enemy is louder, we're listening to that voice instead of the voice of God.
Yeah, but the other piece you add to piggyback on that is around people pleasing. And the only way we can get past some of that fear is to let go of what others might think, feel, say, we're not in control of that. Other people's thoughts are theirs, other people's opinions are theirs, and sometimes we have to do things afraid. Now, I was able to write a book as well, but I was chicken and I waited till my mother died, and I didn't have to worry about what she had to say. It was about her, ironically, but it wasn't anything bad. But it doesn't have to be bad. People that want to have an opinion about something will always have an opinion about it. So I tell my girls this, I tell myself this when I'm doubting, that sometimes you've got to do it afraid. And fear is a healthy thing. We are supposed to feel fear. It's supposed to ignite us and move us forward. But if
You
we
better
are
say it.
believers, we've got to be able to support our weakness with God's strength. And that's where we push back, let go of our control, and let Him take control.
And it's lessons that you learn when you do conquer that fear. You just triggered something for me when you just said, do it afraid. I learned how to swim last summer, and it was a week-long class. And that third day, he had us jumping in 8 feet of water. And I was like, mm-mm. And I was going live every day. And I was like, look, the lesson today is don't let anybody talk you into doing something you don't want to do. Because I didn't want to jump in those 8 feet of water. So I turned that whole situation into a lesson about not conquering your fear. And I indeed learned how to swim. And I don't know how I did it that Friday. We had a name for it. We call it a swim cycle. We brought all our family and friends, and I still don't know how I did it, but I jumped in 8 feet of water. Now, will I do it again? Absolutely not. But I did it afraid. I stood on that, whatever you call that thing. I'm going to call it a plank because it was like walking a plank. And I stood up there for about 10 minutes, and finally I looked at the crowd and I was like, y'all got your cameras ready? Because this ain't going to happen again. And I did it afraid, and I felt so I don't even know what word to use, but it was so liberating and just and I have no desire to do it again, but I could swim now and I can use it for the purpose of health reasons and a real easy exercise to do. I will not jump in 8 feet of water again, but it did something for me, and I did it afraid. So
Very good.
So I guess my question is, and this is just kind of, I guess, like the flip side to play devil's advocate. So what about if you are not in a space where you hear that voice, where you hear God telling you, you know, this is your purpose, this is what you should be doing. So how do you still get to the point where you can start to do the work to conquer some of those fears? Because some people just may not be in that place right now. I mean, and that's real.
Absolutely true.
Right. I will also go back to, especially with ourselves, but like with our young people. Like I know my son lives in what I call the world of what if. You know, you're so into what if that it's blocking anything, everything, because you're up here with the what ifs when, you know, kind of just be about. So how do we, you know, even kind of lay some pearls on them so that they, you know, so that they're hearing us and, you know, and getting it. And sometimes it's having them talk with other people. Because I always say, you know, as a single mother, I am the single most talking head all the time.
And
you know, so that's still small voice. This not so small voice is not listening to all the time.
And that might be a suggestion even to your question, Lisa. Like, if you don't hear the voice from God, but if you have someone you trust that you can speak to, that can encourage you, or you know, to push you along. I mean, Jeanette and I do that to each other all the time. She'll call me and say, what do you think about this? Or I'm, you know, and I'm like, go for it. Like, you know, and if I have any fear or, you know, thinking about something, I'll do it with her. Like, well, we bounce that off each other so that we do a little nudging for each other. So, you know, just knowing she's there, hopefully her knowing I'm there to back her up gives her just enough nudge to be like, okay, I'm gonna do it scared.
And Lisa, tapping into interest, maybe even, because I think people want to go from zero to grand, you know, zero to Oprah, but there's some middle ground in there where you trying to figure out what you like and what you don't like. What I'm enjoying with those conversations, especially with my 15-year-old, is she has about 40 things that she knows she does not want to do. And I think finding that out is just as important as knowing exactly what you want to do. So that's, she hasn't heard some voice just yet, but she definitely knows in her spirit, for whatever reason, she doesn't want to do this, that, or the other. And I think we forget how to dream. So I think it's just putting those things out there and figuring out what's best for you.
And
I also think,
that's what I was getting at.
yeah, I think too, the voice of God comes in different ways. Like it might be something somebody said here tonight, or you might,
Mm.
hear, read something or see something that God speaks to us all in different ways.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes people just need to feel like they have a safety net, whatever that looks
Right,
like. So
Yeah.
right, right. Absolutely,
another person
absolutely.
or that's something that that someone can offer, I think that helps move you past the point of being stuck at fear.
I think it brings you to like a when I said earlier to get out of your own way, it's like if someone who's trying, they want to go out on the limb and start their own business, such as myself, and I'm in that I have that fear of, well, what about health insurance? And well, what about my retirement? And then like you have to have that faith that and be appreciative and grateful that God has shown me what I am supposed to be doing, and to be obedient for that, and not to worry about that, to say he got that, so you go ahead and do what you're supposed to do. But I'm still human, and it's like, and I sometimes I have to talk myself off the ledge, like, come on, you got this.
Mhm.
So it is that, definitely that safety net, and that fear, and you just being in your own way and sabotaging the things that that you should be doing. So,
That's a really good point, because what I find myself doing when I don't know how to do the big thing that I'm trying to do is wasting a lot of time. I
mhm,
waste
Mhm.
Mm.
on other things that don't matter to what I said I wanted to do. Like
Yeah.
if I am trying to build content for something that I'm working on, if I could spend time working on a website, what each page should look like, what this should look. Now, I'm not a website designer. Why am I even wasting my time over there? But I think because we want to be so busy all the time that we try to do everything other than what we're supposed to be doing, and not delegate, and not team member that can help us grow. And because we want to figure out every single step, and that's not what God said. God just said go,
Mhm.
go,
Mhm.
like
Yep. Yep.
everything.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. I want to
and it,
piggyback on that. I want to piggyback on that, Shannon, and I want to go back and really listen to the question that Lisa asked. Let's go back to, like she said, somebody that doesn't know, have a clue about what the voice of God is. Think about that. That's a child, y'all. That's a baby. He tell us we got to have childlike faith. So he takes you back to the journey of being a baby. Like, oh my God, I don't know, baby didn't know what the heck to mean to get up and walk. What does that mean? What does that look like? But it was such a child's um um, being is the closest thing to God, because it's something out there that they just open to trust. It's just straight up trust. Remember when we were kids and your fathers used to be like, jump off the step. All right, get up to the third step. Jump from the third step. All right, get up to the fourth step. Jump up to the fourth step. And you just be like, all right, woohoo, yeah, let's do it. And it was all about letting go of every control. Like you said, Shannon, you don't know what your step is, but you constantly know, like you said, that the more and more you let go of things, the more and more you have that childlike faith. So like you said, Lisa, it takes just being open to know that what Jeanette said, God can come any which way, form, or fashion. It could be any which way he want to come. He can talk to a homeless man and you'll be like, oh, okay, God, okay. But you gotta trust that when he tell you, just like you said, okay, I need you to go buy a gallon of milk. Why, God? Because that lady over there next door to you, she need a gallon of milk because she about to throw her kids out the window. You know, you just gotta know that in you, somewhere, somehow, like a child knew that, you know, I don't know this voice, but I know that there's something that's created me, something that knows me, something that gives me this heartbeat, something that makes me want to do these things. And I'm gonna say this is what God spoke to me. The opposite of fear is love. That's the opposite of fear. The opposite of fear is love. We are really we are afraid to love with all that we have within us because it makes us vulnerable. It makes us transparent. It makes us have to break down. It makes us empaths. It makes us carry the burdens of our brothers and sisters on our shoulders. It makes us be Jesus straight up. It's just that. And the more and more you allow yourself to go back to that childlike faith, then that's the much more you can let fear go. And like you said, fear is actually beneficial. Fear gonna always be there. Be honest. How many times he tell the people in the Bible, fear not, fear not, fear not, fear not. And it's not, you're never gonna be the absence of fear. Fear is not gonna go away. It's just how you're able to quickly react from fear. Oh, there you go, fear. I see you again. Boom. I'm gonna knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out with this one smooth stone. All right, I got about 4 more. I got 5 more sitting back there because I'm gonna knock this next fear down. Because more and more you go through processes, the bigger your assignment gonna be. Oh, you was able to take care of that little stuff. All right, here we go. Here go this big one over here. What you gonna do with that? And you gonna let fear attract you, or you gonna remember all those times that I saved you before? Because that's the childlike faith. Remember when you were standing on step number 1? All right, now I need you to move up to step number 2 and jump. All right, I need you to move to step number 3 and jump. All right, I need you to get out this boat and start walking on that water. Man, y'all, I gotta share this testimony. I went to have a guided meditation session not too long ago. It was phenomenal. And God took me there. It was me and God. I ain't gonna lie, I was in another planet. I was not sitting on that grass with no man, no nothing. I was strictly in God. And he gave me the vision of me stepping out of the boat. And I want to piggyback on what you said, Daryl, because I got to do that assignment. God told me that's my next assignment. You got to jump in some deep water. I know how to swim and I need my feet to touch the bottom. But when he said, when your feet can't touch the bottom, what you going to do, boo? So going back to my testimony, not only did he tell me I started walking on the water, and I put this up today, he said, you were created to fall. You were created to fall, because only way you're going to fall is you got to fall in me. You got to fall in me. Fall in love with me. That means that you fall out of you. You let all of you go and you fall into being who I've called you to be. So that was the first thing he said. You created a fall. So he took me to that process. He said, now fall. He said, remember, Peter did get out the boat, but he fell. And he said, we stopped right there of him falling. All right, he fell. Remember, God put him back up and put him back on and said, walk again. God said, no, I don't need you to walk. I need you to fall. I need you to feel that you're about to drown. And then I need you to flip over. Boom. And now I need you to be on top of the water and just let go. Breathe in that air that's up there with me and you. You can now let go, and I'm going to let you float, and my hand's going to be right up under you. And you just going to keep floating. You ain't got to walk. You ain't got to know which way you're going. You ain't got to see. All you got to do is let go. And I was like, man, God. And when he told me to come out of that, he said, now that I let you see it, now you're going to say it. Remember, Ariel, your testimony, You gonna tell somebody that you got to do it, and now you got to be it. And now, Daryl, I got to do it. So thank you for your encouragement, because I now got to go and start and set up for a class to learn how to swim in deep water. So thank you for that.
And I can attest to this whole story, because the whole reason Bernita's on tonight is because earlier this week, she sent me a message that she had heard from God for me. And I told her I received it. And part of her message, I won't share all of that part right now, but part of the message in there, she told me that she had some fears, and one of her fears was swimming in deep water. And so then she's telling the whole story now, but we just talked about that. And I said to her, I said, that's interesting that number one, I received this message that you've gotten for God for me, which was about decluttering. So you all know I've been talking about decluttering forever. I said, but also we picked a topic this week of fear. I said, so would you be interested in coming to our show tonight? Because she came to me with fear, her fear, not knowing that was a topic that we were going to talk about tonight. And I was like, I just thought that. Like every time I always say that I know these shows are all ordained by God, because they just fall into place every week. And so, when I heard Daryl mention swimming, I instantly looked at Bernita, because we had this discussion earlier this week. And Daryl, and for those of you all that are listening and watching, we just met Daryl tonight, so they didn't know each other. So this was not like it was a planned. None of our discussions are planned anyway. But we didn't even know each other before tonight. So that's just an incredible testimony right there, Bernita. Wow.
I liked how Benita correlated and brought out so many key words. I mean, she talked about fear, the flip side being love, but then she talked about, but then how even that's scary and within itself, because then she talked about transparency and vulnerability. And, fear can be so paralyzing at times, and I sit back and reflect of those moments where I've had that paralyzing fear, and it was all stemmed around what we talked about earlier about, am I enough? Like, can I really do this, Lord? Like, I have faith in you, but our faith wavers. And we're all beautiful, intelligent, smart, successful in our own right women, but then we had this moment of paralyzing fear. And it fear just brings out, it makes you face your insecurities and your vulnerabilities and all of those things that we try to package up and hold tight right in our gut and our soul, that we really don't want people to know. I know I suffer from perfectionism, and so everything that I do, if it's going to be done by Tanya Robinson, it's going to be perfect. So my relationships got to be perfect. I got to put the part, it's got to be in what I seek in my eyes as being perfect. But at the core of all of that, it's just fear. Fear of people really seeing me for who I am. Fear of, did I do that right? Was that good enough? Did I offend somebody? Oh, just fear of everything. And it flows in our relationships, whether it's with our significant other, with our children. I look at my son, and I know that perfectionism, which is on a foundation of fear. I now know with my son being 26, 27 years old and watching him as a young man, I see that reflected in him and how he walks, because he saw his mother walking in that fear, not covering it, making everything look real good. Oh, it looks good, but underneath, if somebody would touch me the wrong way, all of that fear and imperfection and vulnerability, if that stuff would start to flow, it would look ugly.
You better say it. You better say it, Tanya. That's real. That's the part that's the most courageous. And let me take you, like what you said, think about fear again. Once again, fear is bondage.
Yep.
It's bondage. What's on the other side of bondage, y'all? Freedom. That's where God said you gotta be. And the devil, like, once you get free, Once you break down them walls, man, you're gonna be like, what's next? Come on, Satan. I got you. Come on, man. It's me and you. And you gotta know that that's where it's a process. We're gonna be doing that until we leave this earth. We're gonna be doing that until we hear the Lord say, well done, my good and faithful servant. You can now enter in paradise. So always remember that fear gonna be there. That's the first and foremost. Acknowledge that fear will always be on the back of your shoulder, because that's what it says. Satan gonna always be at your door. He gonna be always knocking. And so Satan is the fear. That's what the enemy is. So the enemy's gonna be there because he's coming around. He's gonna be on earth. God allow him to do. Go ahead, touch Job. Go ahead, touch Ariel. Go ahead, touch Marcy. But you forgot, you can't do nothing to her. And that's what he wants us to start to know. Once we know that in us, good God Almighty, that freedom is real. That freedom is power. It's powerful. But then, like we said, then we can't be like the Tower of Babel and be like, oh, I got this, y'all. We can't do that either. We can't do that either, because God's gonna be like, you better humble yourself under the mighty hands of me, because you still got some process. So being that balance, like we talked about, it's funny, Tanya, that's what me and Cara was talking about. That's one of our challenges. We were perfect. All our I's had to be dotted, all our T's had to be crossed. And transparency, that took me to depression. That took me to depression and anxiety. It
Amen.
took me to a dark place. And God had to remind me, you ain't perfect, boo. You ain't do this. Come on, Job. Who are you? Did you put the stars in the sky and the moon, and you make the moon rise? You ain't do that. You got. I'm telling you, I got so many testimonies, y'all. I'm sorry. I can take over. I got major testimonies, so I'm grateful. I'm so grateful.
Amen. And I know we all do, and our stories mimic
each
other. Depression sufferer, anxiety sufferer. I mean, look, you can't have a spirit of perfectionism and not stress yourself
Come on,
out.
sis. Come on,
So,
sis.
all of that, that's all just woven. I mean, we can go on and on.
Yeah.
We talk about, all of that stuff, just would it manifest. But hitting a dark place. I remember a very good friend and coworker, when I was kind of struggling. It was like my turning 40 is when I really that's when all of that, I got into a real dark place, and all of that stuff started to bubble. And I remember a coworker one day, we were talking about something else, and I remember her saying, sometimes you're not, people have to hit rock bottom before they can kind of get out of whatever that's having them, bound, whatever's holding them down, whatever, strongholds they are dealing with. And in the midst of my darkness, I heard her voice say that. It was really the voice of God, but he was just reminding me of somebody he used to drop a seed in me 5 years prior that didn't even come to birth 5 years later.
Come on, sis.
And that's when I hit rock bottom. I was in a dark place, depression, anxiety, falling out at work, going to ambulance, thinking I'm having a heart attack, all these kinds of things.
I need to go get my tissues.
And girl, and I'm gonna cry. So anyway, and all of these things everybody is saying, it's like, this is why this good girlfriend conversation is so powerful, because I know we all been in places where we've been going through stuff, and it's like, Lord, why me? Why I'm going through this? She looking good over here, she prospering over there, and she got this, and here I am. I'm smart and I'm intelligent. I try to do things right. I tithe. I go to church. I do this. I'm available when girlfriend number 1, 2, 3, and 4. But then you get you wallowing in your own stuff, and it's that fear. All of those things, when we talk about fear and being controlling, and you feel powerless, but our God is just so good, and I just so grateful daily that I know him, and that I stand firm on his word, whether I waver or not, because I know it's nothing but the grace of God that got me out of that place. And I reflect, you know, on the fact that my son had to watch me in that space. And then we talk about not talking about stuff. So even after coming out of that, it was almost like, you know, all right, I want to just shove this underneath a rug. And he saw it, and I know he saw it, but I didn't want to talk about it. And it even took me out of fear years after being in that dark place to even be able to have conversations with the people that were closest to me. You know, my parents, my sister, my best friends, you know, we all knew, but we didn't really talk about it. And then, you know, getting the Lord, you know, taking me to a place of just letting that fear go and knowing that I'm enough, whether you like it or not. I'm enough for me. And once I understood that I'm enough for me, it didn't matter what anybody else thought. It didn't matter where I worked, what kind of house I lived in, what kind of car I drove. None of that mattered. Yep. It only mattered that I was good with me. Yep. And once I was able to understand that and be good with who Tanya was, then I began to see things manifest differently in my life. And so I feel like we always got to hold on to that, no matter what stage we in, you know, that we're good enough. We're going to stumble, we're going to fall, things going to happen. It's not always going to go right, but we're enough.
We're enough.
We're enough.
And I call that when what you talked about, you know, hitting the rock bottom, I call that the wilderness experience. And that's when it's just you and God. And I feel like that builds your muscle to deal with fear, because once you've done that and it's just been you and God and you see how he brings you through, next time it's just a little bit easier to deal with whatever fear. You still have fear. I mean, at least I still have fear.
I'm getting on this call today. What am I doing here? Am I not going to be afraid to say what I need to say?
Lord? Come on, sis. Come on, Tanya.
Because somebody else may want to hear it. Then,
come on, sis.
About you, Tanya. What?
Yeah, say that. Say that.
You've been divorced 3 times. You know, you always second guessing. Well, what should I share, Lord? You know, be out of fear of what. Oh, really?
And even. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I'm sorry.
Ariel just has a point. I just wanted her to.
Tanya, thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know who else has been, you know, in that little hole, or that, you know, that space of just, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I just don't know. And, you know, we're all, you know, various ages, you know, age doesn't mean anything. But in the book, I talk about going through a quarter life crisis. And this was just before I turned 30 years old. And I was, my rock bottom was me laying in the bed after I had taken some pills and drank some alcohol, and the police had bust my door down. And at that point, I had to get it together. If not for anybody else, for my son, because at the time, I think he may have been about 5, but I had to get it together for him. And Tanya, I think about you talking about perfection, and something that God, I mean, he whooped my behind about. He said, you're out here trying to do X, Y, and Z for this person. You're trying to look good for that person. You're trying to, you know, put on this facade for everybody else. You're trying to make everybody else happy. Try making me happy and see what I won't do for you. We get so caught up in appearances. I mean, to be honest, we get caught up in appearances, what we look like to everybody else, what our home looks like, what our kids look like, what our cars look like to everybody else. And we have no idea what they're dealing with on the other side of their door. You know, they could be going through the same stuff we're going through, or even worse. But we're so concerned about, you know, their opinion. God is like, what about me? I'm the one who you need to focus on. And when we start focusing on him, oh my God. Oh my God. What he does on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
Tanya. You would
Yeah.
not talk to your son about this. And now you're on the
Yeah.
phone talking to 10 women about
Yeah.
how you overcame this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real
That's a
talk.
testimony in itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. But for things like that, when we're going through those issues and we don't share them with our children, they don't know how to handle when they, you know, get to a tight spot. We gotta talk about it with our kids because, or in I'll say this, I know, you know, I'm not the only one. Your parents say be seen and not heard, and
Yep.
you know, like stay in a child's place and all of that. But we have to have honest, open conversations about our children. But this is just a new, we just living in a different time. And so we have to get out of the stigma of mental health. I'm the biggest advocate for mental health.
Me too.
I don't
Me
care
too.
who you are. It
Me
is
too.
okay to see a therapist. It's okay to have God and your therapist. My
Me too.
pastor will say the same thing.
Me
She
too.
definitely, my pastor is very open and honest about going to see a therapist. It's okay to have both.
Yep.
God did not give us everything.
Yep.
One plants, one waters, you know, all of that. He gave us resources. So it's okay for us not to have everything. It's okay for us to lean on this person for this one thing and somebody else to have something else that we need. It's okay.
We say that all the time.
Yeah, God.
Jeanette's favorite saying, Jeanette, say what you say. People need people.
People need people.
Say it every show. People
Yes.
need people.
And I can't take credit for that. My mother is the one who, you know,
Her generation.
yeah, my mother is the one who says that all the time. You know, sometimes you get, speaking of fear, you might get your feelings hurt, right? And so you get angry. Anger is another form of fear. Fear you're going to get hurt again or whatever. And so, you know, my method of operation is to just move different. And that moving different may be, you know, cutting ties. But that is not, people need people. We were not meant to be on this earth solo.
Right.
So you have to deal, so many times I have learned how to deal with myself, right? To, you know, move past and pray. I mean, I can't even say that I've done any work, you know, made any progress. I'm not doing anything. I'm praying all the time. And, you know, all the time, because people need people.
Yeah.
God always talks about making yourself be a friend to somebody else. It's about other people. So you got, you know.
I got God, a counselor, sorry for the dog, and a couple of good friends that I can say this to that one and that one to that one, you know, to be able to let stuff out. Tanya and I ran into each other one day in the parking lot and hadn't seen each other for a little while. And I just something said, talk, let it out. Like, I don't tell a lot of people. I've probably been through everything there is. Bankruptcy, foreclosure, homelessness, abuse, suicide. I now can say I live with depression, not, I handle it, right? Because I went through it through COVID too. Because
Amen.
to touch people, I gotta touch them, I gotta do this.
Yep.
So, you know, I always had fear of all this other stuff going on and everything, but it just made it worse. So that brought on some more depression. But I ran into Tanya in a parking lot one day, and I don't know if I told her probably 5 years of worth of my life in a 20-minute conversation. And it was so relieving. Like, people look at me and my husband and go, "Oh, they so great, they're so great." Yeah, but we, you know, met some shit too.
Come on.
Right.
Come on, twin.
When it's blended, as we talked about before, and not the first time, and all that other kind of stuff. But yeah, I think these calls and these conversations, even though we think we're talking to 10 women, we know we're talking to 100 more out there, because I done heard some stuff from people. But I think it's been good for us, and it helps break down a little bit of that fear of being open, a little bit more transparent with some stuff. And I did definitely, unfortunately, have a bad period when my daughter found me. And from there on, she was, again, was my lifeline, Ariel. That I was like, okay, I can't, I gotta come out of this for her. So definitely keep telling your children, Shannon, at ages, whatever they are, 15, 16, whatever, keep talking to them, keep talking to them.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, because fear can breed sickness too. And that's what I'm hearing. We're talking about the mental part of it, but the physical aspect of it as well. I had a fearful time period last year. I kept so many things bottled up for that perfectionism and all the things that you ladies were talking about. And I ended up in the hospital for 10 and with intestinal issues. And if you're dealing with chakras, you're dealing with energy, you're dealing with, that's that middle part of your body where you hold all of your stress. For women, that uterine area where we carry so much. And when you're in the hospital for 10 days, it is just you and God. And you're trying to figure out if you're going to live or die, if your kids are going to be okay. But it's from years and years of not sharing the stress, the pain, all the suffering that you've gone through. And I'm circling back to what you said, Cara, about that experience. That's probably one of the best sermons that I heard that Pastor Robbie did at Celebration, because he talked about the Israelites and how I never knew, knowing that story all my life, when they got out of Egypt, that it should have taken them 11 days to get from Egypt to the promised land. But because of their fear, because of their anger, because of their stress, it took them 40 years. 40 years. And so how many of us are getting in our own way, in our wilderness experience, and stretching out the amount of time that it should take us to get from where God said that we're supposed to be to where we actually are in our promised land? So I have to let him be.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And Celebration Church, we have a therapist and have God. Our church offers therapy within the church, so that is, it's okay. And we all, I think everyone on this call has agreed that if you need to see a therapist, you need to see a therapist. You should not. There should not be any, especially in the African American community, we should get away from this thought that we shouldn't be talking to someone, a neutral party, about options and thoughts and things that can possibly potentially propel us to a better life. So that's a really good thing that we just need to keep saying, that trust God, but also speak to someone if you need to.
Amen.
So really good points tonight.
Yes.
And we're at the point now, it's almost 9:15. So we're at the point where we're going to highlight, and actually I'm sharing
another business though too, her dessert business.
I know we're going to highlight, but I was also going to say, Shannon, if you want to share your book with us tonight, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Or you can come back another week. We'd love to have you, and we'll highlight you that week. It's up to you. If you want to do it tonight, you can, or both. Or we're going to also highlight Ariel.
Shannon has some, yes, because Shannon has some good stuff. Shannon, can you just tell them your credentials real quick?
Yes. I actually am a mental health first aid instructor. So I know mental health. I'm a life coach, speaker. And so I worked in substance abuse and mental health for the last 16 years and really definitely spread all of this information, especially to historically Black college and university students, because the age of onset for a lot of mental illness is in that college experience. So I was able to work in that area for a while and really have expertise in grief and loss. So the plug I'll do for the book, and then I can come back on another night, is
because we need a whole mental health discussion.
Yes, we do.
Especially about the kids going to school. I mean, that age group. That's very, very important, and probably in this age of the pandemic,
worse
and more so, having the discussion about that. So
Yes.
look, I'm making a little bit of an executive decision with my partners here that Shannon will come back, but go ahead and share your book and I'm going.
I will. But this is 5 seconds and I have to go shortly anyway. It's called Get Your Head in the Game, Life Lessons Learned from My Mom Through the Game of Basketball. So I tie in all of the lessons because I played, my mother played, my kids played, how you take what you learn from those rebounds that we have in life, those knockdowns, and how you triumph in life's struggle. So that's really what it's about. But
how do we find your book? Where can
you go on Amazon to find the book?
Okay.
Yeah.
Get Your Head in the Game through
Life Lessons Learned from My Mother Through the Game of Basketball.
Right.
Okay, can you do us a favor and put that in the
I will
chat
put it in the
on
chat.
Facebook so that we have all that contact information? And yes, we'll get you back. Well, you give us some Thursdays that you're available, and we'd love to have you on for a full discussion. That would be a great topic to start our new year off with.
Yes, that's a great
Give
topic.
us some Thursdays that you're available, and we appreciate you being here tonight. Yes. And Ariel, tell us about your book and your businesses.
So both of them actually, I was like, I can't do this. They started with me just trying something, something cute to see, how it would go. And so in 2016, I started preparing like sweet treats and desserts, chocolate covered strawberries, pretzels, all these little cute desserts you see on dessert tables at weddings and baby showers, parties, everything. I do it. And so my sister, she actually bakes cakes. So we have collaborated on various events, but we have said to ourselves that we are afraid to market more than what we have because we are afraid of the influx of customers that are going to come in. We both do amazingly well. Word of mouth is the greatest compliment. So we're both doing it very well, going into year 5. But yeah, so it's been going very well. And it's my business is Dessert Diva of Baltimore.
Dessert Diva
Baltimore.
And so I'm on Instagram as Dessert Diva of Balto, BALTO.
Okay.
And then
delish.
Thank you. And then aside from me being an author, I've also edited several literary works over the past, I'll say 5 to 6 years. A few of them, Q and I both know 2 of our close friends, Katie Marie Fickling. She published Elevation Has a Price Tag. And then another one, Tanya Jackson has published Considerable Demand. So I've just been, I've been blessed, I'll say, being an author and an editor over the past several years. I know that 2020, I will be working on another assignment. I don't know how soon that will be available, but I'm just being obedient, listening to the word of God. And I'll do whatever he tells me to do. If it's write 1 book, 2 books, if it's, edit 5 books this year, then I'm just praying about the relationships that I'm going to build in the upcoming year.
So anybody interested in writing a book can contact you. You can get them going.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I know there are plenty of books out there. Black women, we have so many stories, and
we do. And like I said before, somebody is in desperate need of what you have. The very thing that you're afraid to share, somebody needs that. Somebody needs to know that they aren't the only one going through it, Tanya.
Amen.
Yeah, so we definitely have so many stories to share. I get excited about the stories that people, you know, have been holding on to so long, and I encourage them as they encourage me. So I'm truly grateful to be I'm thankful that you all had me on this evening. I'm thankful to be amongst such amazing women, such character, such beauty, all shades, ages, walks of life. Yes, thank you so much.
And
If
just
you are interested in purchasing the book,
yeah,
you can email me at a pair of shoes called fear.com.
she's called fear.com. Okay.
I'm sorry, a pair of shoes called fear at gmail.com.
Oh, at gmail.com. Okay. Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I hope this encourages someone to know that just as even having this good girlfriends chat, I had to move past my own fear. So, you know, we talked about this before, but I was like, wow, how would people feel if we get out there and talk? And like someone said, how much am I willing to expose of my own life? And, you know, when I decided to do this, I prayed about it and I said, I'm going to be honest about whatever. And I've shared all kinds of things that I'm sure my family probably didn't really want to hear me say out loud, but it's our truth. And when we live in our truth, we're free. And
Yeah.
so, you know, we can move past fear, get to freedom. And so I just hope that this will encourage someone out there to, you know, hopefully you can hear from God. If you can't, or if you don't think you are, be open to hearing messages that may come, like Jeanette said, from other places. You never know where it may come from, but hopefully you will take a leap of faith and move past the fear and really understand what was the acronym fear stood for. Was this
False evidence appearing real.
right. Move past that, and hopefully this has been a blessing to someone. We always say that we hope that these discussions are blessing to others. And anyone else want to share anything before we go?
I like to share. I'm having a calling it my Confident Cuties Girl Power Club the week after Christmas. For I'm having two age groups for little girls ages 8 to 10 and ages 11 to 13. It's virtual meetings that we'll be doing every single day. One time is for the younger girls, and 1 o'clock, 10 a.m. is for the younger girls, 1 p.m. is for my older girls. I'm also a certified life coach and health coach, and so I do life coaching. And this is my first group that I'm doing with little girls because I'm just thinking how powerful the world would be if our little girls knew how powerful they were at an earlier age instead of in their mid 30s or mid 40s. So I'm trying to reach them young.
Can you please share that information in our Facebook
Yes.
chat? That is so awesome. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. I'm so glad you shared that. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is awesome. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
All right, before we go, I'm going to check the Facebook chat and see if we have any comments or questions. And I can only see what I have. If you all have shared this and you see anything, please share if you have comments or questions on your live as well. But mostly what I see is a lot of people saying that this was a powerful discussion, ladies. So we got a lot of people that really enjoyed or found this conversation to be beneficial. So with that, does anyone else have anything? People are asking for the contact information for the books, and we're going to share all that information on the chat so you can reach these powerful women. And anyone else see any other comments at this point?
No, I don't. What a powerful time we've had this evening, as always.
Yes.
The good girlfriends hanging out, chatting.
Yep. So if there are no more comments, we are going to say that we hope that everyone has a wonderful, wonderful week.
Oh, Carb, tell them about next week. Like, people might think that we're not going to be here. Carb, yes.
I was going to follow up with that at the end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. great minds, great minds.
You know, I might, if you forget, like, that's what I'm supposed to be your reminder.
In my back, that's what sisters do. We back each other up. We make sure we are there for each other. So I appreciate that. So next week, which is Christmas Eve, we are planning to still be on. We won't have a topic per se. We may just discuss some of our favorite Christmas memories or traditions or what we're doing this Christmas. But we are planning on having our DJ back. If any of you all were here with us from the beginning, you know we had a DJ in the beginning, and he hasn't been here in a few weeks. So we thought we'd invite him back to spin some music for us and have a little party. And if by chance Facebook doesn't allow us to stay on with our music, we'll still have the Zoom party. So if you all want to come to a live party next week for Christmas Eve, and we plan on doing it New Year's Eve too.
Yeah.
The next 2 Thursdays, we plan on having a party with some music so that we can move our bodies a little bit and stop sitting in the seats. So that's what we'll be doing. So we hope you join us on Christmas Eve. If we don't see you all on Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas. We hope you all have a blessed holiday, and we will see you.
Safe, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.